Hello everyone, welcome to my jungle story. I'm Jacqueline and today I'm going to be giving you a complete care guide on the Alocasia Regal shield. I recently featured this plant as my favorite plant in my collection of 2024, and I figured it's also the perfect time to kind of tackle this plant because I have another little baby in here at the bottom and I need to take it out because it's fending for its life, and I need to give this one the space to really size up, even though it is already very, very big, but I want wow factor with this plant. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope you enjoy it and let's get into it. Okay, so quick backstory on this plant. I bought this plant as a teeny tiny little plug the beginning of this year. I think the order was the last week of December in 2023, and I received a tiny little plug at the beginning of January. And yeah, this plant has been through the works, to be honest. There's been a period where I had it root bound for a very, very long time. Now there are two plants in here. Mitch also actually purchased a Regal shield a couple of weeks after I purchased mine. So technically this biggest one here is actually from less than a year's worth of growth, because the biggest one is Mitch's one. He gave his Regal shield quite a big pot straight away, whereas mine, this small one at the bottom here, lived in my cabinet for quite a while, and it was root bound. It needed to be up potted way, way sooner than I actually got around to doing it. But yeah, that just wasn't the case. And when I did my big repot video where I repotted most of my plants in pon, I put these two together just because I knew that it was going to get big. It was already sizing up quite quickly. This plant doesn't really go through a period of no growth. It's continuously giving growth. This is the latest leaf and it is already pushing a new leaf there. So I wanted to wait to do this repot, but this leaf has not even hardened off yet completely, and it's already giving me that leaf. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. This plant is very, very resilient, so I'm not worried about that. But yes, that's the backstory of it. Teeny tiny little plug less than a year ago. I had it in soil for the first couple of months, but then I moved it to pon because I was putting most of my Alocasia in pon and I had the best success with them. So I went ahead and put this into pon. This is in quite a big pot. As you can see here, I think this will be a 30 centimeter pot, I think. But yeah, I actually really want to put the main plant. I'm going to call this the mother plant because this one is a little bit of a dud. It's not looking the greatest. It's, like I said, fighting for its life because it's got no chance against this big one. I'm just gonna get right to the care. So starting with the most important factor with Alocasias is light. This Alocasia loves bright, bright light. This actually lived on a south-facing window for quite a while. It was only really in the summer months that I had to move this plant away from that window because the leaves, they weren't burning, but I started to notice that they weren't as dark. They were just like slightly discoloring. I think it would have been fine, but it's not. I love the dark leaves of this plant, so I wanted to make sure that I could, keep that. So I took it off the south-facing windowsill probably, I would say maybe end of May this year. And it was already quite a nice size then. That's when I decided to put it on my north-facing window, and it got really nice morning sun in the summer. But it started getting too big too quickly, so I actually decided to go and give it its own grow light. I have positioned it so that it's not shining in your face, but as you can see there, that is a SANSI 36 watt grow light. This plant has given me the best growth with that grow light, so highly, highly recommend. I would just say as much light as possible. This plant can also take, I think it's the texture of the leaves of the Regal shield. This one can take direct sun. I'm actually going to experiment in 2025 with putting one outside because I have so many. This plant also makes a lot of corms. So I'm going to do some experimenting and see how it does outside. But the Regal Shield is, in my opinion, the easiest Alocasia out there. It is one of my easiest houseplants as well, which is also why this was #1 on my absolute favorite list of 2024. But yeah, just a lot of light, a lot of light. In the darker seasons, give it a grow light, preferably not a strong one like the SANSI 36 watt, but just a lot of light, because this plant will give you the best growth as this one has. It grows like a weed. It is so fast growing. And I think that's just because I've given it the light that it wants. I have unfortunately got a spot here. I don't know if it's gonna, there it is. I have a spot here where I have burnt it. This was almost touching the light, and it actually took quite a while to burn. So this one is a little bit of like a thicker leaf. It's got like a velvety texture to it. It is also actually a hybrid, which is something that I only found out a couple of weeks ago, actually. I didn't know that this was a hybrid, and it makes sense because hybrids they just are easier from my experience with hybrids anyway. But this is a hybrid between the Alocasia Odora and the Alocasia Black Velvet. Two absolutely beautiful Alocasias. The back of these leaves are they're just these like dark purple. Oh, it's just such a beautiful Alocasia. So beautiful. So yes, light, lots of it. Watering, so it depends on what substrate you use with the Regal Shield. I have it in a semi-hydro mix from eu.soil.ninja, and I make sure that the water reservoir is filled to around about here. That there's always it's not a huge water reservoir, but that there is always water at the bottom. I never let this plant dry out, never. The top of it, I mean, yeah, if I stick my finger in it, it's still, you could feel there's a lot of like moisture in there from the semi-hydro, but the top layer is quite dry. But I just make sure that that's always filled up with water at the bottom. And if you keep the Regal Shield in a soil mix, never let it dry out. Wait until the first few inches of the soil have completely dried out. But if you look at the bottom of the pot and you still see that the soil is a dark color, that's okay. Just make sure you pay attention to those first few inches. Stick your finger in there. And if you notice that if you take your finger out and it's, the soil is like dark and it sticks to your fingers, then that's okay. But if you take your finger out and you notice that the soil like crumbles away and you'll feel it with your finger, then you need to water it. I also rinse this plant probably once a month, where I just take it to the sink. I let the water completely drain out just for like any mineral buildup, because whenever I add water to the water reservoir, there's also a hydroponic fertilizer in there. So I just want to make sure that, it gets flushed through flush, rinse. That's what I mean. Not rinse through, but, flush your plant through. It seems to really like that. And I just make sure there's always fertilizer in the water. Do be careful with fertilizer. Make sure that it says on the back of the bottle that it is a fertilizer for hydroponics. That way you're safe every single time you water this plant. And that leads me on to the fertilizer for this plant. So Alocasia they like their feed, they like their nutrients. All of my plants that are actually in pond, I just add fertilizer to the water every single time I water. I don't really skip it. It's not really shown me any signs that it's not happy with that. It gives me a lot of new growth very quickly. I think keeping on top of fertilizing with this plant and giving it the light that it needs, I think that just keeps this plant happy, and that's why it gives me continuous growth. But yeah, make sure, like I said, with the fertilizer, that it is for hydroponics if you have it in semi-hydro. You can get loads of different like Alocasia mixes that have fertilizer in there, but even if it says like up to 150 or 180 days of fertilizer in the soil, I would personally still recommend adding a little bit of fertilizer to your water, just so that they get the nutrients that they need, because Alocasias they are heavy feeders. They do love their fertilizer. They really, really do. I've seen the best result in my Alocasia if I just fertilize them all year round, every single time I water them, and they just stay happy. So soil mix, whatever you decide, whether you decide semi-hydro or you decide a soil mix or whatever, I have personally been experimenting with switching some of my Alocasia to a soil mix. I've made my own DIY soil mix. I've also tried mixes from different companies. And yeah, I'm kind of experimenting with that a little bit. But the Regal Shield, I would highly recommend growing this plant in semi-hydro just because maintenance-wise, I've noticed that when I had the Regal Shield in a soil mix, it was a thirsty plant. Really thirsty, unless it was just the mix that I made at that point in time. But I noticed that I was watering this plant every like 2 to 3 days. They're very, very thirsty. Thirstier than most of my other Alocasia, actually. And that's why switching it to semi-hydro is just so easy. It's low maintenance. You just have to fill up the water reservoir, make sure it doesn't dry out, and that's it. This is the semi-hydro coarse mix mixed with the fine mix from SANSI. And I'm actually very happy to say that I have a discount code for you guys from SANSI. The discount code is MYJUNGLESTORY, and you will get 10% off your first order on their website. So yeah, you might as well use that. I do get a small commission from that as well, so it's also a way of supporting me. But if you're living in Europe or in the UK as well, they've started in the UK, I think, SANSI. And the last couple of years, they've been selling in Europe as well, and I highly recommend. I've just had the best results. I think main components that I would buy were just from the garden center, but I noticed a big difference moving from those cheaper components that you can buy in the garden center to SANSI. And I have to say that the prices from SANSI, there's actually not that big of a difference compared to garden centers. There's even some garden centers that charge more. So yes, I would highly recommend SANSI. Unfortunately, I have had a lot of questions from my viewers in the States. I've noticed that most of the percentage of you guys is from the States, and they don't sell there. But I actually did ask them, working with them, and now that I am an affiliate with them, I did ask them the question of, is there anything in the works? Are you going to be, selling in the States? And they didn't say no. So I think I can lean more to like the yes side. The first thing that she said to me was actually that they're going to be working on shipping. It's obviously sending soil mixes and components that is difficult, that it's not that easy. So they are going to be working on it. And I think the first mix that she said that they were going to try was semi-hydro, which is very exciting because I love this semi-hydro mix. It's definitely the mix that I order the most. I think I've probably ordered so many bags, and I always buy the big bag as well. But yeah, so I am happy to hear that. So they are working on it. It is in the works. I don't know when it's going to be, if it's going to be in a couple of years or maybe sooner. She couldn't really tell me that, but I am very glad to say that it is. Something's happening. So yes, but if you're in Europe, you can go ahead and use my code. So yes, that is the soil for them. Again, it's your own preference. It's whatever you choose, whatever you decide to use, but I would recommend semi-hydro. I've had really good success with it. And I've actually just noticed there is a giant, check at this. This is one thing that I love about the Regal Shield is their corms. Look at that. Look how juicy that is. I just plucked that out of there. And there have been more. Oh no, the rest were already plucked out by my daughter, but I had to sadly throw them away because I have so many. But look how big and juicy that is. It's so satisfying. And I've never had an Alocasia Regal Shield corm, big difference, rot on me. It's just such an easy plant to propagate, which leads me on to propagation. You can propagate this plant through the stem and also through corms. So Alocasias will make corms, and from that they will sprout either pups. That might happen within the pot, or you can take the corms out like I've just done. I've just plucked this out of there. This is, I don't know what this is, the technical term, but this comes from the main stem. And what I do is I always pull it off. I peel the corm slightly, just like a little bit, but this one doesn't really need that much peeling. and you plop it in pretty much whatever substrate you're comfortable with. I have had the best luck with stratum, and I just put them in these like teeny tiny little cube propagation like vessels. I put them in there for a couple of weeks until they've sprouted and they have maybe like 1 or 2 leaves, and then I will pot them up into whatever I want to grow them in. So that can be semi-hydro or a soil mix, or I've not tried, I've seen people have really good success with perlites, but also like sphagnum moss as well, also really, really easy. Yeah, Regal shields are very easy to propagate. Like I said, I've never had any of the corms rot on me from a Regal shield. And what you can also do is that once this plant gets quite big and mature, you'll start to notice that it gets quite a lengthy stem, and you can also chop that. You'll see when I pull this one out, I'll show you, but there are like little bumps on the stem, and from those bumps roots can form. So you can also propagate from that. It doesn't have to be from the corm, it can be from the plant itself. It just has to be quite a mature one for it to do that. You need to have the stem there. If you don't have that, then you do have some chances of rotting there. But personally, the easiest way to propagate the Regal shield is through the corms. They throw out corms like no tomorrow, and they just do great in my experience. Temperature wise, so keep away from, I'm laughing now because I'm going to say this and I'm completely contradicting it, but keep away from drafts. When I have a door right there going to outside, well, not outside, but there's a hallway there which is not heated or anything, and it is very, very, like it's freezing right now, and the back door is always open because of Lexi. So I can feel sitting here, I can feel the cold coming from that door. So I am contradicting that factor, but the Regal shield is so easy. It's not really, I don't know, it's just not really thrown a fit. I do have this leaf here that you can see. This is an older leaf, but you can see some of the edges have kind of started to go yellow. Now that can be due to the draft, but unfortunately I have nowhere else to put this plant because it is so big, and because I do need like the grow light in this specific area. So yeah, this door opens a lot, Mitch goes outside a lot, Lexi passes out a lot. So do as I say, not as I do. So I do think that these marks are from the draft, but on the newer leaves, wait, I have another leaf here. Yeah, that one doesn't have it. I think I've noticed that Alocasia, they go through a period of kind of adjusting to the change in temperature. So when it really switched from autumn to winter here, I noticed that my Alocasia stopped giving me growth, and now I've noticed that they are kicking back into action, and that they kind of almost like they've adjusted to the change in temperature. So I think that's the same with the Regal shield, that it here was kind of sort of acclimating to the change in temperature, because it was also very, very used to, I keep a humidifier on all the time. When I had to switch that on, I was probably around about end of October, because October was still quite warm and humid. And when I switched that on and the temperature changed outside, there was like an acclimation period. Like you could see that my Alocasia were kind of just adjusting. And because of the cooler draft, I think that's what happened there, because the leaf that it gave me after this one does not have that. So yeah, it's kind of adjusted to it. I feel like the Regal shield is one that adjusts very, very quickly. So temperature wise, I do have to say my Alocasia, they thrive in the summer. They do like higher temperatures. But one thing about the Regal shield is that this one, people have grown this plant outside quite a lot. And I've also been, you guys comment on my videos and been telling me as well your experience with the Regal shield, which do comment down below and tell me what your experience is with the Regal shield. Do you have a good time with it? Do you not have a good time with it? But a lot of people have told me that they grow a lot of them outside. So that's why I'm excited to give it a try in 2025 to see how this plant does outside. Not the specific one, just one of. This one can go down to 13 degrees Celsius. I'll put Fahrenheit on the screen. But yes, this one, usually it's around about the 15 mark, but this one is known for around about the 13, 12, 13, and it still does okay, which is, you know, just goes to show how resilient and easier this one is compared to other alocasias that would just grow a complete fit. But I do think that has a lot to do with the texture of the leaves. That's not, it doesn't have like this, it's like velvety. It doesn't have, it's a lot, you can feel it's like more robust. So yeah, I'm very excited to give that a try. But yes, the lowest I would recommend is 13 degrees. Humidity wise, Alocasia love extra humidity. I've had a humidifier for almost 3 years now. And the first genus that I noticed in my collection that absolutely loves the extra humidity is Alocasia. I noticed that most of my Alocasia actually used to go dormant this time of year. But that's not really been the case the last couple of years with my Alocasias. They go through, like I said, a period of acclimating and kind of adjusting, but there's not many that go dormant anymore. There are still a few that do, but nowhere near as much as it used to be. So I do think humidity is very, very important with Alocasia. I actually also have a humidifier that I keep specifically by my Alocasia because I know that they just love that extra humidity. Also, if you are like me and you love Alocasia, you know that spider mites love Alocasia and spider mites love dry air. So that's why this time of year, Alocasias give most plant parents a little bit of grief because of the spider mites, because yeah, the dry air, you have the heating on, it's just normal that this time of year that the air will be a lot drier than, you know, in the growing season in spring and summer. Keeping a humidifier or just boosting humidity around your Alocasia will keep the spider mites not at bay. I'm not going to say they're not going to come and bite on your Alocasia, but it is going to help. I went through a period of having spider mites continuously for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and adding a humidifier very, very close to them, that the mist is literally on the leaves. Spider mites don't like that. So yeah, Alocasias love humidity. I would say between the 60 to 70%, and they will thrive. Which leads me onto the pests. Yeah, spider mites. They love Alocasia, they do. And this one has had spider mites, I think twice this year, which is actually not a lot. I know it sounds like a lot, but for my Alocasia, that's not a lot at all. However, I am more on top of this Alocasia than I am. Okay, I need to try and, this plant is so big, I'm like struggling to. Yes, I am on top of care for this plant a lot more than I am with my other Alocasia, and the reason for that is because of the texture of these leaves, you can see the dust a lot quicker on this plant. So that's why I dust this plant quite a lot. I also clean the leaves, which I'll also show you at the end of this video. I am actually going to repot this plant and take this one out, and I'm also going to give it a good clean and show you what I use and how I keep the leaves nice and clean. If I'm not on top of dusting with this plant or cleaning the leaves on a regular basis, and I'm talking about weekly, I will see the week after that, guaranteed, that there will be spider mites on this plant. They also love the texture of this one. And unfortunately, this is such a beautiful Alocasia, but if this one does get spider mites, it is so incredibly noticeable and it looks awful. I mean, it looks awful anyway, but it looks even worse on this one because of the foliage, because of the texture. So definitely keep on top of cleaning your leaves and checking. This one has never really had a really, really bad infestation of spider mites. But again, that's because I'm on top of care for this plant a lot. It's also where it's standing, we pass here a lot. It's also a very big plant. So, you know, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. So yeah, keep on top of dusting and you will still get spider mites, guaranteed. It'll just help. It really, really will help. Keeping up with frequent dusting is just also good for overall health in your plants. Okay, so that is all of the care for this plant that you need to know. One thing I do want to add is that this plant is toxic if ingested. So make sure, you know, that your kids don't eat pot leaves or anything like that. Something else that you have to be careful with, some people react to this and some don't. A couple of years ago, it never used to irritate me, but my body has changed a lot since my 2 pregnancies, and I've noticed that my skin, and I'm just a lot more sensitive to things. But the oxalate crystals that are released with, it's basically, how can I explain this? It's whenever there's a cut or a dent made in this plant. So if I, for example, take a leaf off, you will notice that at the base that there's like crystally sap on there. If that gets on your skin, it can irritate your skin. Like I said, it never used to with me until this last year, actually. When I'm peeling the corms, I do have to wear gloves or use a pen set thing, because if I mean, it's hard because it's so much easier doing with your nails, but my fingers will start to burn. You can see, I don't know if it's really gonna pick up, but yeah, you can see there, I've just pulled off a little piece of skin and you can see it's kind of like wet, and those are the oxalate crystals that are coming out, and that can irritate your skin. So yeah, just be careful with that, and obviously don't touch your face or anything. So yeah, that is how to take care of the Regal Shield. Like I said, one of my easiest plants, highly recommend. An unkillable plant in my opinion. We're going to move on to the repotting part of this. Yeah, I just want to take this one out because it's pointless. It's looking very sad. Every leaf actually, is that the latest leaf? Yeah. I don't know, you can see it's just not as, it's not giving. It's not as healthy. It's a little bit like deformed. I don't know. I can also see what looks like spider mite damage, but it doesn't have spider mites. It's just the damage from it, yeah. Obviously, probably there have been a couple of times where I've dusted this and maybe not this one. So maybe that's why. If it's really gonna pick up. You can see it's just not, you know, it's not happy. It's not as healthy looking, and it needs to be taken out. And I also need to clean that out. This is an example. I didn't clean this out that long ago, actually. You can see there. That's how dirty it's, yeah. The dust from the semi-hydro. You can rinse it as many times as you want, but you will still get that fine dust. That's normal. I also have a lot of these really big, I don't know, I've noticed with some of my Alocasia that they prefer the finer mix from semi-hydro, but this is actually a mixture of everything. And it's been perfectly fine. It's just a plant that I know it's gonna be fine. So, because I obviously still want to use that, you can reuse the semi-hydro. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try and tip it out. Oh my word. No, I'm gonna have to do it that way. Oh my word. Oh my word. Okay. This plant is heavy. Okay, there's a lot of breakage here. Oh my word. There's a lot of dead roots. Ooh. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I'm gonna try and get as much. Okay, this doesn't smell the greatest either. Okay, let's just try and separate the little baby one. There are some big corms in here. Okay, I'm just gonna pull. Oh. Okay, that's another corm. Check the size of that, that's huge. The Regal Shield is definitely an Alocasia that it gives you the biggest corms that I've ever seen. And I don't know what I'm going to do with all of these. Here's another one, a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's quite a small one. Okay. They are quite, no, I can see that's from, I don't think I rinsed this pond very well. I might need to start rinsing this one a little bit more. But yeah, that is the root system. Very long root there, geez. Not a lot of breakage, it's just some of the finer roots. Okay, so that's the baby one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I'm really struggling to, I also sell plants, but the Regal Shield, I don't know, people just don't really seem to be interested in it. So I've just been giving it away for free. And I need to investigate her because there's definitely some rotting going on here. But I mean, look at that. That juicy big root, oh my word. There's a lot of, oh, okay. There's another big one. Oh, that's another big one, jeez. I'm not even gonna have to, oh my word, check at that. That's huge. I should try and, oh, maybe I'll put this one up outside. The other baby one. Wow. Here's another one. Oh, there's a lot of fine roots. There's another two. Oh. What do you think the end count will be of the amount? It does that as well. It's the first Alocasia that I've ever seen it do that. Like, it makes a corm, and then from that corm it will make another one. Another one. It's funny, some of them have like a skin and some of them don't. I'm definitely really gonna have to boil this pond. Okay, let's give it another shake. There's another two. Oh, there's a lot of rotting going on here. There's a lot of healthy roots as well though, so that could just be, because those roots do look really, like the dust, if there's too much dust build up, it's just gonna rot. But this plant doesn't really seem to have an issue with it. I don't want to tug at it too much because it's giving me a new leaf and I don't want that to be deformed, so let's just take off. Being very gentle, yeah, usually I am a lot rougher. Okay, that is the root system. I could also put this in a bucket with some hydrogen peroxide, but I don't have any more at the moment. Here's another column where it's doing the same thing. I'm gonna have to have a good dig through here because there's definitely gonna be more corms in here. But I will just leave this for a while to get it to like dry out, and then I can pull out all of these finer roots, boil the pond, and reuse it. But look at that. It's huge. And I do want to put this, see, this is actually not, I need a bigger pot, but it's gonna have to do, because I could put it back in here. Look how big they are. But there was some rotting going on here. Look. Oh, maybe. Should I put it in here? This is bigger than that. Is it? Yeah, it is. It is, yeah. Yeah, okay. I don't have bigger than that, so it's going to have to be that. It's just because I can't see the roots in there. I don't like that. Okay. I need a scoop. Where's the scoop? Do you want to go outside? Yeah, just go. You're going to have to go over. Yes, I have some sphagnum moss. Why do I have sphagnum moss on the bottom of a new pot anyway? Yeah, so I have my bin here, and this is a mixture of the finer mix from Soil Ninja and the coarse. Just because I still want to use the coarse. I also been adding the coarse mixture to like my soil mixes because it's got the zeolite in it, the pumice, and those are all really great components. So, and the lava rocks. So yeah, I just add it in there just so that I can use the coarse mix because I'm not going to waste any of this. You reuse this pretty much as many times as you want. It's just, yeah, it is really important to boil. So I have floor heating here, so I'm going to leave this tray on the floor, let it dry out so I can pick out all of the roots, and then I will just put it in a bucket and run boiling water through it a couple of times, and that way it's like sterilizing it and I can reuse it if there are any bacteria or if there's anything going on, because there was a little bit of rotting going on here. You don't want to set that onto another plant. So yeah, I'm gonna fill this up. I've cleaned this, boiled this, but you will still have, like here, you can see there's some dead root on there. That can still happen. It's not the end of the world if it's just a little bit. It's just, yeah, try and get as much out as you can. As you can see here, so this is what I mean. Let me just take this off so I can show it you properly. But you can see there are, so this is the skin from a leaf that I cut off. I'm just gonna take that off. Here's a good example. That's a really big bump. And from that bump, it will make new roots. So I am going to place this one a little bit deeper. But this one, I've noticed with other Alocasia, it's different. That one gets a lot more like stemmy and leggier. Whereas this one is very, you can see like the different lines. This one is very like compact. And you don't have to do it as much as, whereas with other Alocasia, it is, okay, that is from, no, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna fiddle with it. There are some roots here. Yeah, with another plant, I would definitely clean the roots a lot more. I would be a lot more thorough. But because I know that this plant is so resilient, I'm not stressed at all about this plant. It's going to do absolutely fine. As you can see, there are so many healthy roots that I know it's going to be absolutely fine. It's not going to throw a fit. Okay, I think I'm good. Okay, so it's repotted. I also cleaned the bottom of the pot. What's actually really nice now is with the other pot, with this pot, I wasn't able to do that because it was like right up against the lip of the pot. but now I can actually put water directly into the pot instead of letting it run through, because this semi-hydro is wet at the moment. So I would rather just have a small, I filled it up to around about here, a small water reservoir, just so that there is water in it. But because the semi-hydro is wet, I'm not worried about it. Because now that I actually think about it, I think the reason why there was a lot of rotten roots in there, they are all the finer roots, but because also when we went through the transition of changes in temperature, we have floor heating here, and I have put it on a, what's this called? Little wheeler thing, I don't know, just to raise it off the floor, because even me just sitting here, like my bum is warm. Like this, when the heating's on, I mean, it's freezing outside now, so obviously it's full blast on now. But obviously with semi-hydro plants, you do have to be really, really careful, because if that dries out, that can be quite detrimental. And also, I say that I've cleaned the pot out regularly. It's actually been quite a while. Now that I actually think about it, it has been quite a while. And that's dust buildup in there. That could have also been, because it was mainly the roots right at the bottom. At the top, there wasn't that much rotting going on, but it was mainly right at the bottom. But yeah, as you can see, I have planted it a little bit deeper, and it's actually straight away, like this plant is stable in there. I mean, yeah, it had a lot of roots, so that's going to hold it up anyway. But I was able to put like quite a nice layer. I thought that this pot was smaller, but because this one is like this, that one's straight. So I don't know what I'm gonna do once this one needs to be potted up. But yeah, I'm so glad I did that. It looks so good. It's actually a lot straighter now. This is also something that I forgot to mention with this blonde, is you do have to, I don't know if it's really gonna pick up. Let me move so that that light is not shining in your eyes. But yes, this leaf, I mean, you can't really tell now, but maybe early in the video you would have seen that the plant was slightly tilting. This one does. You have to move it a lot. If you have like what I've got now with the setup with the grow lights, that grow light actually would preferably be a lot higher. And maybe in the future I'll have to do like a pendant. Oh, that could actually do that. That's a good idea. Do like a pendant system, because I really like the Sequoia lamp. It was only like 30 euros. It wasn't expensive at all, but you're limited. This one is already actually too big for that light, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna have to find a different solution for that one. I do have to move this one because right now the leaves are all that way. You can see that they're just all going that way. So I've turned it so that this new leaf, you can see the point is already, I moved this plant, I think it was yesterday. And I'm not over exaggerating. That's how quickly Alocasia move to the light, with all of my Alocasia actually. But I've noticed the most with this one. I think it's because it's such a strong grow light that it just reacts to it a lot quicker. But you can see the point of the leaf is already starting to go that way towards the light, which is what I want. Yeah, it will just even out a lot more, because otherwise this one does tilt very quickly. Unless you have it up against a wall and you're not bothered about that. But in my case, it's just the position of the grow light. This is one of my favorite plants, so I'm really happy that I made a care guide on this plant. Many of you have said it is such an easy plant. If you are just getting into the Alocasia genus and you don't have this one yet, get it. Or you can get one from me if you're in Europe. Just send me a message, because I have so many. I'm just giving them away for free because I have so many. But yeah, I highly recommend. Definitely get one of these, because whenever some of my other Alocasia just give me grief and just bring me down in the dumps, this one restores that. It's my favorite plant. Yeah, it just gives you the absolute wow factor and is so stunning. So last up, before, I almost forgot about this, but this is what I use. I either use a Swiffer, it depends. It depends on what mood I'm in. But I either use a Swiffer just to get all the dust off, or I use this. This is a concoction of neem oil, peppermint, and alcohol in here. I've noticed the peppermint, ever since I added the peppermint to it, it has been a while since I've seen spider mites in my collection. I've actually been doing it with all of my plants now. I experimented with the Alocasia, but ever since I started doing that, I haven't had spider mites on them, unless I go too long without doing it. So doing this once a month has kept them at bay. in my experience. So yeah, I just have it in this little spray thing. You do have to, every single time you use it, if you even put it down for a couple of minutes, the neem oil will start to lift to the top. I can sometimes tell there's like a meter thing here that you can see there's like a darker layer on the top. That's just the neem oil. So you do have to give it like a really good shake. And then I just use a cloth. I used to just spray directly onto the plant, but I don't know if it's just this thing that I use, but it drips everywhere. It drips everywhere. So I just do it on here. It's a lot easier. Contains the mess a little bit more. And what I will also do after I've done this, so preferably do this, I mean, it's late afternoon now, so I'm not worried about it, but preferably do this at night when your grow lights are off, because with the neem oil, it can, and you've got grow lights on it, it can burn the leaves. So I will, when I'm done, because I'm using the light right now because it's a very grey day, but yeah, when I'm done, I will switch that grow light off, because I think the SANSI 36 watt is probably the strongest grow light that I have in my home. And my Alocasia love it, but I don't want to take, because it is the strongest, I don't want to take the risk of burning my leaves, especially with this plant. And it's also really important to clean the back of the leaf as well, and also the stem. And I am very rough with this plant, but this is such a hardy Alocasia. I'm not worried about it. Oh, that peppermint smells so good. Yeah, I didn't know. Someone, actually one of you guys told me on YouTube, and I did, oh yeah, I just ripped the leaf. That's just typical. It's a good thing it's an older one. Just ripped it. These leaves are starting to, because of the yellowing, it's starting to like bulge, and that's why it's done that. Yeah, anyway, I was saying the peppermint, one of you guys told me, and then I did some more research on it, and apparently peppermint, they also use it for spiders, that spiders don't like it. If you have like a lot of spiders that you don't want in your home. I personally don't really kill my spider, unless it's like really, really big, but I don't actually kill the spiders anymore because they'll eat the bugs as well. Spider mites, pests, just pests in general don't like the smell of peppermint. So that's why I added it in there. I thought I'm not using it anyway. I might as well use it up in there. And it's also, with some neem oil, the one that I use doesn't actually smell. Oh no, there's something else that I add in here that I forgot to mention, a dishwashing liquid as well. That's what I also add in here, just a tiny drop, because this is only a liter, but some neem oil can stink. It depends on different brands and all that, but the one that I use is the one from plants.com, and that one doesn't really have a smell unless you like stick your nose in it. It smells slightly oily, like olive oily, but it doesn't really stink. But if you do have a neem oil or even just like horticulture soap and it stinks really bad, just add some peppermint. It really does wonders. But yes, that's this plant given some love. I'm really looking forward. That looks like it's, I mean, yeah, I said that over this leaf. I thought it was going to be a big leaf. It is huge. But it's not even fully, it's not even fully hardened off yet. And that's already there. So yeah, I hope it's going to be happy now. I'm definitely going to keep on top of cleaning this out more, because like I said, you can clean semi-hydro as many times as you want, you will still have dust coming off it. But yes, that is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed, found it useful. If there are any tips or anything that you have with the Regal Shield, pop them down in the comments. Tell me your experience with the Regal Shield, if you have one. If you don't have one and you're going to get one after watching this video, highly recommend. You will not be disappointed, 100%. And yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. It's just a click of a button. It's a way to support me. Go ahead, if you haven't ordered from SANSI, go ahead and use my code. I do get a small commission from it, but you will get 10% off your first order if you live in Europe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.